Hey people, welcome to my top 25 supernatural anime. I understand and aware that there are perhaps a lot more better shows out there, however I unfortunately haven't watched all the supernatural anime out there in existence, so my sincere apologies for not watching enough to your own personal liking. So smack that like button now and let the video commence. MAHOUKA is a show that has a vast amount of depth in its own setting. The show is based on a world where magic has become accessible through CAD, yet despite that there are still a minority of individuals capable of using magic that are in the minority, as magic is still only available to minor individuals. The government and practically the whole world is left scrambling to establish their own dominance over the new resource, that is magic. As for the narrative, the show revolves around two siblings, Miyuki, the bewitching, elegant first-year course 1 honor student with a brother complex. Then we have Tatsuya, the older badass brother that's a course 2 student with little to no skill with magic, in which he more than makes up for with his engineering skills. Both of them enroll at a magic school that's divided half of their students based on their academic performances. Course 1 students being labelled as bloomers in contrast to Course 2 students referred to as weeds, as those students unfortunately don't receive the same personal instructors and facilities that blooms get due to their lower magical capabilities. Therefore, the school is run on a hierarchy, with discrimination causing many conflictions between the students. Therefore, this is involuntarily reeling in Tatsuya and Miyuki. Don't fret, as the show does deter from that as it lingers on as the story follows through Tatsuya. He always never fails to surprise anyone with his unique combat that triumphant all magicians, as well as his talent for engineering magic. The story essentially takes off when he's offered the opportunity by the student council to join the disciplinary committee as the first weed to ever join the council. The anime tackles the discrimination at the first part and then moves over to a competition between schools, and then the last part which digs into the depth of our main story. Overall, the show has a lot of potential that I think they just about scratched the surface on. However, from what I've seen, the show is most definitely enjoyable to watch for the minority, as the show has a lot of background info and a ton of jargon that you got to keep up with, and if you find yourself lost, chances are that you won't particularly enjoy the show as a whole. But definitely worth a shot if you don't mind the heavy science fiction and like to engross yourself in a world where magic and technology merge together. No Game No Life is for sure a unique name in terms of Madhouse's choice of animation, which is the high contrast neon palette they went for, giving No Game No Life its own unique standing. The story follows a brother-sister duo, aka Blank as they like to refer to their name. They always are victorious in any game they partake in, and before you know it, they are dragged into this alternate world by Tet, where everything is decided by a game, whilst keeping true to the 10 main rules of this world. Throughout the show, you'll see Sora, the perverted dude that's quite deceptive and manipulative, and Shiro, the quiet sexualized lolly that can't read nor express emotions yet, is praised for her intelligence as they take part in these games against all sorts of races out of the 16 that are in this world. Most of the games that take place boils down to outwitting your opponent with your own strategy. What I liked about how they executed this was of course seeing how exaggerated simple games turned out to be, which is what is to be expected of a fantasy world that No Game No Life presents. Despite how outstanding Blank is, I always wondered how Sora and Shiro both were without each other. Unfortunately, both of them are completely useless as they both function as a unit. However, what I loved about the anime particularly was how they not only made that happen, but even showed how both characters overcame such an obstacle, and for sure highlighted both of their flaws as individuals that they both rely on each other to cover for. So definitely check out No Game No Life if you're looking to jump into a fantasy world where everything is decided objectively through these games, fair and square. Well, unless you're caught cheating. Overall, I couldn't give a shit about what the community thinks of No Game No Life, with people complaining about the show being too overrated, because at the end of the day, the fact is that it's popular for a reason, so why not check it out, ignore the pessimistic hipsters and judge the anime for yourself instead of letting others judge it for you. Soul Eater is one of those gateway series that will tickle your love for action, comedy, and an intriguing concept in this supernatural world where shape-shifting weapons partner up with humans to capture the 99 souls and 1 soul off a witch. The whole show often gets stick from manga tards that always believe if an anime isn't 100% adapted from the source, the whole show is automatically shit, regardless of how well together the story was put. Soul Eater is a fun show with 3 different main characters from the other that have their own unique story and character development, making the show all the more compelling to watch. I also like the fact how this show is split quite evenly from the focus of the students having their own episodes and working together alongside the story transitioning to to the teachers who have their own troubles, which often connects over to the villains. Even more so, what I embrace a lot about Soul Eater is that, unlike with Blue Exorcist, the story of Soul Eater left me with a lot of closure, where a readaptation isn't necessarily a strong priority over other series, as the show managed to conclude nicely in a way where I'm content with what I got with the 51 episodes I invested in. But it doesn't mean I would have no interest in a readaptation of Soul Eater, as the fans watched the anime will have no clue how much the manga differs from the anime counterpart. All in all, if you want to watch an anime that will give you fun, entertaining, lovable characters that have depth, then try Soul Eater. Angel Beats is for sure an enjoyable anime through many ways. Some enjoy it for the comedy, some watch it for the drama, and what most people don't seem to look at is the supernatural element into Angel Beats. The show revolves mainly around Otanashi, Yuri, and Kanade, who can actually program her own weapons through a computer. The anime revolves around a group of teens who had an unfulfilling life before passing onto this purgatory world with regret over how misfortunate their lives were. Angel Beats portrays this beautifully and throws in comedy to lighten up the predicament that everyone is in, and then chucking in the action with the well thought out battles that the students have against Angel, aka Kanade. The show will most definitely touch on your hearts, however, as I mentioned this with many other shows, Angel Beats could have explored through a lot more characters that we liked. I can understand if they didn't want to drag out the story, but in my opinion it was cut too short, and with the epilogue I felt the possibility of a sequel, but still nothing. But hopefully the upcoming visual novel may get enough popularity to convince any studio out there to readapt Angel Beats in relation to the visual novel, if they make any changes, that is, to the story. Tokyo Ravens was one of those series that I easily dropped back around full season, which honestly later was a mistake after looking back on the ratings, which were pretty high on MAHOUKA, and I had to check it out. Before we dive into my thoughts, let me give you another one of those rundowns. The story revolves around Harutara, a guy that was born into a prestigious family. Unfortunately for Harutara, he cannot see spirit energy, therefore living his youth at peace. Well, till... After all that, Harutara then enrolls at a prep school for honing and learning new skills as an exorcist alongside Natsume, the childhood friend who is heir to the Tsuchimikaido family. So to wrap up before I spoil or rant on forever, the story will most definitely cater to those of you who embrace and adore sorcery, epic battles, mythical beasts, and in-depth story. For me personally, this anime does have somewhat of a rocky start for those that have a short attention span to the characters that are pretty cliche yet tolerable, as the second half of the Tokyo Ravens essentially conveys what this anime is all about. Sadly for me though, I couldn't be any more frustrated with how it concluded, like with any other anime, leaving it to you to chase up on the original source material, which in this case is the light novel, which we sadly do not have access to legally nor through fan translations. So Yen Press, please make that wish come true. But do not let that get you down, as Tokyo Ravens honestly portrays the world of exorcism and spirits in a very interesting and open way, almost making it seem very realistic and, in my honest opinion, far superior than what Blue Exorcist had tried to achieve. I hope you found at least one show that tickled your fancy. If not, let me know down below some of your favourite supernatural anime, and heck, even I will consider checking out your suggestions. Please slap on that like button before you depart, and here are the rest of the parts to my top supernatural anime.